need an advocate like yourself, someone that's going to go and fight for you every day and stay on top of that insurance company to get you the settlement you need.
Absolutely. And in that situation, when we finally got the coverage, they now gave us an estimate for about $18,000 in damages, and we just settled it for $98,000. So again, even though we finally got the coverage, then I had to go do battle to get the settlement.
That was battle two.
To battle two.
Welcome back to the Just Build Baby studio. You're listening to the BuildX Podcast, your ultimate guide to creating exceptional homes, innovative living spaces, and staying informed on all aspects of residential building technology. I'm your host, Buzz Artiano. Today, we're excited to have Jeff Sabel in studio with us. Jeff is the president and CEO of Sabel Adjusters with 25 years of experience in insurance adjusting.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome to the studio.
Fun. I finally got the invite.
Yeah. Well, you were invited a long time ago. You kind of ghosted me a little bit.
Takes
well,
time.
You wanted to see how the episodes came out.
Listen,
I understand.
I see that it's a hot topic in the industry. I watch your TikToks and all your other social media, and I said, finally, I guess I got to stop making excuses and get in there.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to have you here. So we're just going to start off. I like to have the audience know who you are. So maybe you can take us back before you were a public adjuster, and what led you into this industry, and just kind of go from your early days to where we are today, and then we're going to talk about public adjusting.
Absolutely. So I grew up in Connecticut, in Orange, Connecticut. My grandfather started out as a public adjuster in New Jersey for a big public adjusting firm in New Jersey. And then when my father was in Connecticut, he decided to be a public adjuster as well. So I've been around public adjustings and disasters my entire life, and it's what I always wanted to do. I actually did my 6th grade presentation in elementary school of what I want to be when I grow up, and I said I wanted to be a public adjuster. I showed up in a suit and tie.
No way.
100%
Wish we had that photo.
It gets even better. I even at the time the beepers were in. And my father gave me his beeper, and I wore it on my suit. And in the middle of the presentation, my beeper went off.
Look at you.
And it's what I wanted to do. I went to college for it, and I've been licensed for 25 years now.
Yeah, but you had a stint as a marketing person in there as well, right?
So in the middle, working with family isn't always the easiest thing. So I always knew I wanted to be a public adjuster. So what I did was I came out of college. I went to Florida State University for risk management insurance. So I knew I wanted to be in the field. And then when I came out of college, I said, you know what, I want to go to New York City and be in the Big Apple. So I moved to New York City. I worked for AIG, a huge insurance company. And I kind of got to see behind the scenes of how an insurance company operates. And then I said, okay, Dad, I'm ready to come with you. And that's when I moved to Connecticut and from New York. And I worked for him for about 4 or 5 years. And we finally said I had big, grand ideas of what I wanted to do. He kind of was old school and happy the way it was. So I said, listen, to save our relationship, I was just getting married at the time, and my wife was from Massachusetts. So I said, let's move to Massachusetts. Didn't know the market in Massachusetts of public adjusters, but I wanted to stay in the industry, and that's when I decided to go down the restoration side and worked for a large restoration company here on the South Shore. And we grew it. We grew it leaps and bounds, really got into the Boston market and the commercial end. And then I had an opportunity after a couple years to partner with a public adjusting firm. And then I went aboard with them and had a great run with them. And then I said, you know what, it's time to go on my own. And that's what I did.
Yeah. So that kind of takes us to where we met each other.
Correct.
And originally, it was in my old office, I think, over in Carver. Main Street in Carver.
Yes, next to Mamma Mia's.
Yeah, next to Mamma Mia's there in Carver when I owned that building, and that was our first introduction together. We were both much younger then.
Yes, but we're better looking now.
And we've done a lot of business together, obviously. A lot of business together, and I think we've in some ways changed the industry here locally.
Absolutely.
By the way we approach things. So I think that's a good segue into letting, not everybody understands what a public adjuster is and what their role is. I know when I first, met you, I had had negative experiences with public adjusters in my previous restoration years. And never found a person like yourself that I could work cooperatively with and have a working relationship. So obviously for me it was very beneficial, and I think for yourself as well.
Absolutely.
But I think it's important for people to understand, what a public adjuster is and what they do. So if you wouldn't mind just explaining that, and then I'm going to ask you some specific questions about projects.
Yeah, I think what the best way to explain it is if I give an example to walk someone through versus really say what it is and kind of give a real world experience. Sure. You go out for a couple days, or you go on a trip and you come home and you open the door and the ceilings are falling in, and you had a plumbing supply line go on the top floor, and your whole house is flooded. There's damage everywhere, the building, the contents, you realize you can't live there, and you really don't know what to do. And your first reaction is, I have to call my insurance company, which is the right reaction. But at the same time, you've never been through this before. Your home is your biggest asset, and you really don't know what is covered into the insurance policy. What can I do? What is the insurance company to pay for? And sometimes the insurance company may be in Florida. It could be on a Saturday, and there's really nobody to talk to get those answers. So many people, when you have a substantial claim, they hire a public insurance adjuster. And what that means is we're licensed by the state of Massachusetts, and we are hired to represent you, to document, prepare, negotiate your claim on your behalf, protect your interests, to make sure that you get the maximum settlement from the insurance company, but at the same time, guiding you through that process. So you know that, hey, can I stay at a hotel tonight because I can't stay in my house? Is that covered? Could you show me in the policy where that is covered? So we are going to sit down with you and review your policy, apply the coverages based on the damages, and we're going to be your advocate. And it's not that the insurance company is out to get you or out to screw you, but they are large companies. And at the same time, they have multiple claims. We're more of a boutique shop. We want to make sure it's a fit for both of us, and we're going to guide you through that process all the way to the end.
So and thank you, but I'm going to break that up a little bit. So it's been my experience over the last, it's been almost 40 years doing insurance repair work, that in the beginning, there were adjusters that knew what they were talking about and actually cared about their insureds, and there were insurance companies that actually cared about their insureds, and there's still a few, but not many. And now, in today's market, what I see, and I'm sure you have seen the same thing, we have what I would call very inexperienced adjusters that really don't understand what it takes to put a building back together. And I just want people to understand that the reason more than ever that you need a public adjuster now is because the insurance companies have developed, a lot of them have developed a mentality they want to pay the claim as cheap as they can. And they're going to send out someone that's nice enough but really doesn't know what they're looking at, and they have no authority to say anything.
You are correct. And just recently, we got called on a claim. The carrier is based out of state. They used a third-party administrator who then assigns it to an independent adjuster. So not only do you have the TPA, you have the independent adjuster. So you have 2 layers of protection before it even goes back to the company. And I knew the independent. So when I called him and said, hey, I just got this claim, and he says, what's the last name, Jeff? He goes, honestly, I got 50 claims from that carrier this week, and I'm seeing about 10 a day. He goes, so I'm sure if I saw it yesterday, I already wrote it up and submitted it, but I don't have a clue of what I wrote, and you're going to have to refresh my memory. So they're dealing with volume, and they're dealing with a third-party administrator who's sitting behind a desk, who's looking at the guidelines of what that insurance carrier is allowing and not allowing versus what's the real world, and guiding someone through the claims process. Right. And there's very few companies that are local that actually truly care.
Yeah, 100%, but I'm going to just unpack that a little more because a lot of those things you said people aren't going to know what you meant.
Well,
so you have I'm just going to say insurance company A. We're not going to use any names, right? So insurance company A, what you're saying in that particular case, they then had a third-party administrator, XYZ administrators, that oversees all the claims for insurance company A. So they've subbed out their claim department.
And not only that, that TPA works for multiple carriers.
Right. So they have multiple rules they're following depending on what they've been told from upper management
Correct.
at a Company A. So Company A has washed their hands of the claim handling process until it's supposedly ready for them to review.
Correct.
So they're completely disconnected from that claim from day one.
Correct.
They give it a claim number, they assign it to XYZ, third-party adjuster, administrator, and then third-party administrator now has contracts with independent adjusters that work for multiple insurance companies, work for multiple TPAs, work for anyone that will pay them to settle claims. And most of those people are on a flat fee schedule that says that the claims are between X and Y, we get this. If it's Z and W, we get that, etc. So it's for them, it's just easier just to write it quick, get it in the pipeline, get their fee, and then let the chips go where it is.
Absolutely.
Then it goes to the third party guy. He rips it apart because he claims it doesn't meet these criteria. And then eventually he sends it to insurance company A, and then they send you a crappy offer. Or they don't even interface with it, they just send a check out and say good luck.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then when we get their estimate, trying to find the appropriate person to have a discussion with that estimate, it just gets very difficult. It takes so much time, and then you have a frustrated homeowner. But for us, it's every single day harassing. Who can we talk to get this resolved? And these are small claims, $25,000 or less, many of these, and it drags on because of the process that they have.
Right. So, in my opinion, before I say that, does having a local agent help you in that scenario?
It all depends who the carrier is. If it's a local carrier with a local agent, that local agent's going to have representatives that they have relationships with at the carrier where they can make a call and say, hey, I have an insured and this is what's happening. Let me look into it. But the local agent that's got, has the book of business with an out-of-state carrier, it really doesn't matter.
Okay, so the days of your agent being able to go yell at XYZ company and say, hey, I've had this insured for 40 years, they've never had a claim, now they've got a catastrophe on your hand and you're ignoring them, I'm going to lose this book of business. That connection is pretty much...
I believe so. For local carriers, you could still make that call because there's still that local connection.
When you say local carriers, that means someone that is
in New England.
Yeah,
someone
based in New England.
Correct.
It's got a lot of, lot of footprint, if you will.
Correct. I mean, there's a lot of carriers now that right here coastal that are based out of Florida.
Right.
And those are the ones that are very troublesome.
Yeah. No, agreed. So now we have all this disconnection. So obviously that leads to poor customer service. So most people know, have had some dealings with some insurance company over the years, and they've always, quote unquote, got screwed or, didn't work out very well. Now that doesn't go for all carriers. If you have some of the premium carriers, it's a different experience. But I even noticed with some of those now that's starting to slip. But, there is still, premium. But the bread and butter carriers, in my opinion now, it's basically deny, slow down, slow pay, low pay, and then they try to get you by death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, I mean, I recently had one with a very well-known carrier where they questioned coverage when I knew there was no question in coverage. And they put this insured through numerous examinations under oath, statements, to the point where they denied the claim. We had to get a lawyer now involved, and the lawyer wrote one letter regarding the coverage opinion, and 5 months later they overturned it with no questions asked. It's like, if you just did this from the beginning when we all knew this claim was going to be covered, we wouldn't be in this situation. But now you have this insured that had an issue in her house for 6 months. She's devastated that she had to deal with this, and now she had to pay attorney's fees. And the insurance company gets away with it.
Yeah, and then she's finally got it settled. Now she's got to get it fixed.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So no work happened.
None.
No work happened during that process,
Nope.
other than you working the phone and doing what you do.
Correct.
Right.
We had all of ours estimate, everything documented from the building to contents within 2 weeks. And then it sat through legal through almost 6 months.
Wow. So again, that goes back to, the value of the public adjuster in all insurance scenarios. you really, you shouldn't be going into that negotiations on your own. I mean, auto claims is different, but
correct, and we can't do auto.
Yeah, but I'm just for a baseline, people understand. Auto's pretty direct. You bring it to a shop that works with that company. They've got an agreement.
Yeah, and accidents enacted, it's covered. If you have insurance, it's covered.
Right. Homeowners is different, obviously, and then you need an advocate like yourself, someone that's going to go and fight for you every day and stay on top of that insurance company to get you the settlement you need.
Absolutely. And in that situation, when we finally got the coverage, they now gave us an estimate for about $18,000 in damages, and we just settled it for $98,000. So again, even though we finally got the coverage, then I had to go do battle to get the settlement.
That was battle two.
To battle two. So she thought that, they finally gave me coverage. They're not going to torture me anymore. I can't wait to see the offer. And I had to coach her and say, I'm just letting you know, I don't think it's going to be very good. And then when she got it, she said, how are they doing this to me again? And that's where I said, now let me do what I do. And we got it up to $98,000 from 18 and change.
Yeah.
And they knew they were wrong. The adjuster admitted at the end. He's like, I'm so sorry we put this our insured through this nightmare. I'm like, but you didn't have to.
Yeah, no, it's just a very disheartening how, and I've obviously seen that slippage over the last 40 years and the disconnect by the carriers. I mean, when I first started, you would have an adjuster come on the job and he'd have a couple $100,000 in authority, and we would walk the loss and come up with a number right there back in the day, and he'd say, whatever, $100,000, you'd be at 110, you'd meet in the middle.
You work it out. Yeah.
And then it would
Go have lunch.
Yeah, it would be covered, and that was the end of it. And then it started with the whole Xactimate thing, and then, then third-party reviewers, and now I'm sure AI is going to creep into it, right? We're going to get to that. And, it's become more and more difficult to settle a claim. So now that we've agreed that it's, that side of the industry is a mess, what are the best pieces of advice for someone to say, hey, you've had a claim, substantial claim. I'm not talking about a small claim. I'm talking about a substantial claim. What's the first thing they do besides calling you? What's the next thing I guess that's the only thing they should do is call you, right?
Correct. But I mean, if water is pouring through the ceilings, you got to call a mitigation company.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to mitigate your damages. That's what the policy.
So get the water shut off.
Get the water shut off. Get a
call
restoration.
You.
Yes.
Call you, and then you're going to probably guide them to who's going to take care of them in their restoration. Because
there's relationships that we have, just like our relationships.
Understood, yeah.
And we're going to work with people that you trust. And I think the biggest thing that we tell people all the time is, when you hire us, just trust our process, right?
Right.
We have a process that works. It's successful. When you go and deviate from that process, it doesn't end well.
Yeah.
As we've seen, and that's where our relationships always come so well. Is, hey, we have a great team here. Follow our process, and we're going to get you to the end.
Right. Yeah, and so that's a good point, because let's talk about that. So they have a claim, they call it in, the insurance company wants to send XYZ restoration company. They really need to call you way before that and say, and then you say, no, don't. Maybe you say XYZ is okay.
Correct.
Or maybe you say, hey, let's stay away from them because I just saw the last 5 things they destroyed.
Absolutely. I try not to take anyone off a job.
Understood.
They got called. But if I know I have a track record with them, or I know their work is not very good, or there's issues on their billing, I tell my client, I say, hey, at the end of the day, it's your decision. But I'm just letting you know, here's the issues that I've had with them in the past. And if you do go with them, I'm not going to be able to help you because this is what they do.
Right. We'll help them on that side of it.
Correct.
You can still help them with the claim.
Oh, absolutely, but it just makes it a little more difficult.
It's going to turn the mitigation side of it into a rodeo versus there's plenty of professional restoration companies that can do that first part.
Absolutely, because our job is to protect our client.
Right.
And if there's a mitigation or another company or a construction company that comes in and starts ripping things out that don't need to be ripped out, that I know the insurance company isn't going to pay for, then it's putting my client in a bad position, because if the insurance company is going to not pay for it, then it falls on them.
Right. Yeah, and we've seen that over the years where a mitigation company comes in, doesn't get permission to do the work from the carrier, does a whole bunch of work and sends a bill for $150,000 to the insured, and they say, wait a minute, and the insurance company's saying, oh, we're going to pay $60,000, and then we start.
Yeah, and then the first question the insurance company asks is, who called them out? How did they get here? And it's like, not me.
Right.
Not me. Can't point the finger at me.
Yeah. So that's interesting, because I don't typically get involved in that front end. obviously, I mean, I have in the past, but, it's not something I do on a regular basis. So it's interesting to hear that. So now you're on the team. Now you're on board. The people, ideal client is listening to you and doing what you say. So what happens next? So mitigation comes in. You go and meet with them, and you say
absolutely. So we're going to meet with a mitigation company, the insurance adjuster, myself, and we're going to all agree on the same page right up front. Are there any scope issues? Do we all agree what the scope of the damages are? Because if you can't agree on the scope of the damages, then the pricing isn't gonna work out.
And for people listening, scope means what kind of work you're going to do, what you're going to take out, what's going to be mitigated, what's going to dry. The whole list of all the things that are going to happen.
Are we removing all of the carpet? Are we removing all of the hardwood? How are we doing 2-foot flood cuts? Did the water go up the wall and wick how high? Let's get on the same page now where we agree on what the scope of what we're tearing out.
Right. And then so now that's going on, and then what's your process from there? What are you doing in the background that most people don't see?
So then in the background, we're going to start estimating the damages. So we're going to come in with our Matterport cameras. We're going to start doing measurements room by room of what the dimensions of the room are, because then we're going to input into our software program Xactimate what the line items are that go in that room, and we are going to do that room by room to create an estimate of what the damages are. Okay, and then in the background, if they can't live in the home, we are going to help them with whether it's a living company, a realtor, to try to find them temporary living. Because after you've had a disaster, what we always tell people is that is going to work itself out. Rebuilding your home is going to work yourself out. You have to get on with maintaining and trying to live your life. So how do we do that? Get comfortable in a property, whether it's an apartment, a hotel, a condo, because some of these, as you know, could go 9 months, a year before they move back in.
Or and some people obviously elect still to do a trailer on site.
Yep, you do that as well.
Yeah, which I don't really recommend.
Yeah, there's options. Again, it's what you feel comfortable with. But trying to get back to some normal, maintained living, that's the ultimate goal. And then while we work on the insurance claim.
So then now you've got your product done. The insurance company has assigned somebody, whether it's an independent adjuster or whoever, and now what happens next? You submit your paperwork. Take me through that.
So we're going to first we write our building estimate. We inventory all the items in the home that are damaged. If there's contents items that are damaged, we are going to put a price to the inventory. We're going to show it and sit down with you to make sure that you're in agreement of what we're
going to show it to the homeowner.
We're going to show it to the homeowner to make sure that they're in agreement prior to us submitting. Once we get their approval, at the end of the day, we give the guidance. They're the ones who are going to make the final decision. So we submit it to the insurance company or the adjuster, but then the adjuster has to review it. And that could take time because, again, the adjuster has many files. So, and I believe they're going to have timelines from the carrier as to what they have to get their estimate in, but they don't always hold true to their timeline on their end.
It always seems to be they're going on vacation.
Yeah, on vacation. Sorry, I just got 5 more fires today, Jeff. I thought I was going to work in it today, but you're out of luck. And it happens all the time. And unfortunately, I have to tell my clients that.
Right.
So a lot of the times we're not public adjusters. We're also therapists.
Yeah.
We have to coach these people and be like, it's going to be okay, because they get worried on their end. It's like, nope, this is normal. This is normal. And
so let's touch on that. So that's the one thing that I've told people over the years. You've never run this gamut, so you don't know what it looks like. And that's why you need an experienced professional to say to you, hey, this is normal, here's what I've seen. Or if it's not normal, for you to say, hey, we need to think about legal counsel because something's going on here that's not right.
Yeah, something, it doesn't pass the sniff test. Something's not right. But from day one, we like to set realistic expectations because there's going to be competitors out there that are going to tell you one thing. So unfortunately, sometimes we're honest up front, we're transparent, and on day one, when we get hired, we email you a timeline, and then we go over the timeline with you of the mitigation timeline, the estimate review timeline, the submission timeline.
And this timeline's been adjusted based on their loss.
Correct.
It's not a generic boilerplate email.
No,
yeah.
And we know a large size claim, a couple $100,000, it takes 90 to 120 days from the time we start till the time you have a check in hand.
Yeah.
And that's just, there's no way around it. So we set those expectations from the beginning. This is the timeline it's going to take, and the adjuster could sit on it for 2 weeks. He then can put his estimate together, and then he has to submit it to the carrier before he could send it to me. It could sit at the examiner's desk for 2 weeks, and the examiner could say, make these changes. He has to make those, he or she has to make those changes, send it, then we get a copy, and now that just took 4 to 6 weeks from the, to get something back from the time we submitted.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah.
So now you're in that negotiation standpoint, right? You've submitted your product, they've submitted the product back to you, and it never lines up, right? So you're at X, they're at X minus some number, sometimes half or less.
Correct.
Right? Because of whatever criteria they're following that they've been directed to. And sometimes it's because of incompetence as well. They're missing rooms, they're missing scope, things that you've agreed to they've left out, et cetera, right? So there's a bit of that goes on. But it's mostly what I see is, I think it's 50% incompetence and 50% the rules they have to follow, right? There's definitely a lot of incompetence on the insurance side right now.
Correct.
Straight up. And if you're listening, hire better people.
Right.
There
are good people out there.
There are, but there's a lot of not so good people. And they tend to stick around a long time. The good people tend to find another career.
Yes.
Right?
Or they come to this side.
Yeah, or they come to this side, right. So now we're negotiating, and how long do you bang heads before you can force something else to happen? What's your internal clock say on that?
I kind of get a sense of the initial reaction that when I get the estimate back, and then I see you are way off, and here's why. And then I kind of could gauge right there and then by the tone in their voice of, you know what, Jeff, you're right. I think we can work in these areas. Hey, do me a favor. Could you get me some sub bids and let me look at them? But I will know pretty quickly if they say, you know what, Jeff, I think our number is fair and reasonable, and I'm not going to budge. And that's when we have to start looking at the alternative methods of, going.
Well, we're gonna get to that. So now we're negotiating, and you realize it's an impasse, and kind of take us to the next phase. So you say to your insured, listen, and again, these are made up numbers. I'm at 100,000, or we're at 100,000. They're at 50,000. I've spoken to them. They don't seem like they're gonna budge. So what's typically your next step there?
So then if it's in Massachusetts, we have an alternative.
I'm going to talk, everything we're going to talk about is Massachusetts.
Okay. Yeah. So in Massachusetts, you have alternative resolution in the policy, alternative dispute resolution in the policy, which allows you to go to reference, almost like an arbitration hearing. The downfall of going to reference is that it's costly and it takes time.
Yep.
So when I offer
before we get to reference though, when do you typically, force the carrier to bring in a builder or someone, an expert? How does that typically occur?
So great question, because I'll give you an option. It just happened to me in the last week.
All right, good.
It was an out-of-state carrier, and they wrote peanuts, and this was a beautiful home on the water. The kitchen's destroyed. We're at six figures. They're at single digits, and I'm not exaggerating, single digits.
So you're multiple hundreds of thousands.
Correct.
They're in $20,000, $30,000 range. Right.
And
it's very clear what the damages are.
Very clear. The mitigation company came in. We've documented it. The cabinets were saturated. They removed them from the wall and they disintegrated. They didn't even include the cabinets in their estimate. So I tried to engage, saying, could I have a reinspection with the adjuster? Would you put a building consultant on it? Silence. So now the owner's saying, what do we do? So I said, okay, let me try this. We don't have to go to reference. We can make the demand for reference, and a lot of the times they're going to give it to a lawyer on their end. And once I'm able to have a dialogue with a lawyer, if they're a competent lawyer and they understand this process, they're going to understand what I'm trying to do. So I did that, and the lawyer responded to me, and I said to the lawyer, hey, you have a few minutes to chat, because I think we don't need to go to reference. We had a dialogue. They're putting a building consultant on it that I feel comfortable with, and now I know we're going to reach the resolution. So
again, that comes down to having an experienced person in the corner to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, your client, these are our options, but based on my experience with this carrier and this adjuster, this is what we need to do to move the claim forward.
Correct.
And they would never know to do any of these things in a million years.
Never.
You can't chat GDP this.
No.
You can't read a book about it. There's no seminar to go to. There's no Settle Your Insurance Claim for Dummies book to read.
No.
This is all
real world, real life experience.
Yeah, this is empirical knowledge that you've built up over the last 25 years, plus your grandfather and your father, obviously. Yeah. And you have them to consult with as well.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Your dad. And to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Have you ever run in this carrier, et cetera, right? So now you've forced them to the table by demanding reference.
Correct.
Right? And by doing that, you got the claim kicked up to somebody, hopefully, that's going to listen to you.
Correct. And the homeowner at the same time is saying, Jeff, pretty much that's what he said. Jeff, I would have no idea. I can't thank you enough. I trust you because I'm getting worried. What am I not going to get paid for my claim? And nope, you're going to get paid for your claim. Trust the process. Let me do what you hired me to do. And every couple of days, hey Jeff, just checking in, and I give them the updates, and they're like, thank you so much. I tell them we're going to get there. And unfortunately, it's not the direct path we want to go, but we're going to go around the turbulence to get to where we need to be.
Right. So let's talk about reference. So most people don't know what reference is. They don't understand the process. So slowly, because I know you've done this a long time, so slowly explain what that is. I'm probably going to interrupt you. Slowly explain what that is and what the purpose of it is and how it works.
You know, reference can be a really great tool. When you are so far apart with the insurance company on scope and price, sometimes it's like, you know what, we're never going to get there. Let's go to reference and let the reference panel decide.
And this is unique to Massachusetts.
Unique to Massachusetts.
No place else in the country.
Mostly all other states are appraisal, which is great in Rhode Island. But Massachusetts, it's reference. So what happens is you make a demand for reference.
Formal letter.
A formal letter making a demand for reference.
To the carrier.
To the carrier or the carrier's representative. The carrier's representative then will respond to your reference and have to give you 3 nominations of 3 referees.
Three people.
3 people that, you know, they have to be live in Massachusetts, that they're going to give you their 3 names. And typically, as you know, there's a handful of the same names that do the references. They've made a career out of it.
Right. There's probably 50 people in the pool.
Right.
Right.
They
do it regularly.
They do it every day.
Right.
You know, that's their career. What I've realized is in the later part of your career, you just do references. You build. It's very costly.
So that's when I'll know you're retiring.
Yes. The more references I get appointed on. So they give you 3 names. You select one of those names. So you get to select their referee.
But this is under a time crunch, correct?
Yeah, 10 days.
Right. So you can move it along if you want.
Yes, you can move it along. 10 days.
So you have 10 days to pick one of theirs, and you have 10 days to pick one of theirs.
Correct. So then I pick one, and then I give them 3 names to pick. And then they have 10 days to
pick one of those.
Correct.
So now you have the insurance company referee, and you have your referee, the insurer's referee.
Correct.
And then those 2 gentlemen have to do what?
Pick a third.
Right.
Almost, you know, technically it's a third referee, but it's almost like an umpire.
Correct.
So that third is really going to run the whole reference.
He's going to be the quarterback of the reference hearing. He's going to schedule whatever has to happen. He's going to send out the emails, the communication.
Correct.
And coordinate all the people that are going to meet.
Correct.
Right. And so how are those people paid? Because obviously reference can be expensive.
Very.
So how are these people paid?
So we're responsible, or I'd say the insured is responsible, to pick up their cost to the referee.
Yep.
And then you split the cost of the third of the umpire with the insurance company.
Right.
So each party is responsible for their own and split the cost of the third.
Yeah. So each day of reference can be $5,000-$6,000.
Correct, because you're at $200 to $300 an hour for the referee. So take that to the full day.
Yeah.
But then leading up to that,
their time discovery.
There's time. There's everyone's submitting documents prior. Everyone's submitting their demands prior. They're reviewing it. Then prior to the reference, you're going to have hearings where you're going to do site inspections. Then if it's a very complex case, you're going to have a lawyer representing you. The insurance company is going to have a lawyer representing them. And they're going to treat it almost like a mini court hearing. everyone is sworn in,
Yep.
and you are going to testify and cross and ask questions. And for a substantial claim, this can go on for days.
Yeah. I think the longest I was ever in one was 4 days, and that hurt.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot.
And just for people's edification, not only are the referees there and sometimes the insured, but the carrier has to bring their expert witnesses, and you're going to bring your expert witnesses, or at least affidavits to what they're doing, depending on the veracity of what the dispute is. If the plumbing's only off, 10%, you probably just have an affidavit. But if it's off 100%, not 100%, but 90%, you're bringing in the actual plumber, and he's explaining to the panel why the other plumber is wrong.
Correct. I mean, the big engineers,
Yeah, that's a big one too.
Engineers, architect, they're very expensive.
Yeah.
They want to be paid for their time.
Sure.
So the insured is paying for the referee, is paying for the experts, paying for the attorney. You have to have a large, substantial amount of money at play to make it worthwhile to go to reference.
So the flip side of that is appraisal, which is available in Rhode Island and other states.
Yep.
And you think that's better or worse?
Better. It's quicker. It's cheaper. You select your own your own appraiser. The insurance company has their own appraiser. The two agree on an umpire. Doesn't mean the umpire is involved on the third. And the two appraisers go out there, look at it. They talk amongst themselves. There's no sitting down to testify. There's no and they decide the claim and give an award. It happens much faster, and it's much more cost effective.
And do you think it does the same purpose, though? Do you think on a complicated claim, you think it's okay to go that route?
Yes. I mean, that's all you have in those states. But
okay, so you can't escalate it to anything else.
No. I mean, here you sometimes can do mediation.
Sure.
Both sides have to agree. And if it's a surplus lines carrier that's not admitted in Massachusetts, it's they actually have it in the policy.
Yeah.
So you want to try to avoid reference at all costs, no pun intended.
Right.
But at the end of the day, sometimes they're great, because they really are going to award, if the damages are there, the homeowner is going to win. But of course, it's going to cost them.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, I know you've done a lot more references than I have because, I've been kind of out of that game for the last 5 years. But, I was in references where the initial offer went from $200,000 to $1 million.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like it in the fact, and again, I think I've only been involved in a couple appraisals. I like it in the fact that you get to tell your story your way in front of that panel and explain to them why the insurance company's wrong. And obviously, you need to know what you're talking about. You need to have a good team behind you. You need to have your paperwork. And that's why it's so important, going full circle, go back. That's why it's so important for you to be involved from the moment they know they have a claim. Because if you're even a week late into that, things have happened that you had no control over. A mitigation company started you didn't want. They decided on scope with the adjuster before you got there, and now you're always playing catch-up.
Right, and that's where the carriers say the reason why we're not paying those costs, Jeff, is because on day one, the contractor, the homeowner, and the mitigation company said we only need to do this, and now you're saying you need to do something differently, so we're not going to pay for it.
Right.
When that wasn't the right way to go from the beginning.
Yeah. So that's important for people to understand that as soon as they know they have a substantial claim, they need to be calling you up and saying, hey, Jeff, I've got this substantial claim, and then you're going to respond immediately.
Right on site. You call 24 hours, 7 days a week, we're responding.
Right, so either yourself or Matt's going to be there right away, and at least you're going to get a handle on that claim and make sure it doesn't go sideways early.
Absolutely.
Because it's way harder to fix one that's gone sideways versus getting involved early.
Correct, and I can't tell you, look at the one we just got involved with where we told this person multi-million-dollar claim 8 months ago that you need our help and tried to do it on their own. And what happened last month? Got the call, Jeff, you're right. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I can't keep doing this, And
right,
I need
and that's a classic example. I actually, obviously have intimate details on that one, and that's a classic example of someone who's, I would call it, polluted that claim now with so many voices speaking. And so many so-called experts and contractors and voices chirping at the adjuster. So now that file's a mess.
It's an absolute mess, but I will say when I sent over my letter of rep to the adjuster and he gave me a call, his first words out of his mouth was, Jeff, I can't thank you enough that you're involved in this claim. We are finally going to bring this to a resolution because this has been a nightmare for the last 8 months.
Yeah, and on their side, on their side, I recognize that because they were getting a lot of voices and it wasn't following a process.
No, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, that just go back to my point. Call you early, and trust the process.
And that's what the insured said. Jeff, everything you said was going to happen has happened. I thought I could do it on my own. But again, I don't have time. I have another job. And I thought I was going to be able to make this work, but I can't. So please literally just send me a zip file, and now I'm off and running with it, trying to undo what was already done.
Right. And it makes it harder for you.
Much harder. We would have been settled by now. It would have been done.
I think you would have.
Yeah.
Or
we would have
real
been
close. Real close.
Yeah. I mean, there may have been an outstanding item here or there, but 95% of it would have been resolved, especially the scope, because now we're trying to figure out the scope.
Yeah, and it sat for a long time, and what's spoilage, and what's what was actually damaged, and now we're trying to play catch up and try.
And they had a mitigation company come in that completely did the wrong thing.
Yep,
and now
100%.
it needs to be redone.
Yep.
And the insurance company said, "Well, wait a minute, we already paid for the the ceiling." I'm like, "Yeah, but it wasn't done right."
Right.
I don't know that company, and I don't know what they were thinking by spraying all the components of the HVAC in the attic.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. So now we've gone to reference, and we've gotten an award. Then what happens?
Then the carrier, whether they like it or not, it's binding, and they have to.
Well, wait. Let's talk about that. So there's 3 referees. You have your referee, they have their referee, and then the supposed third neutral, which I'm going to use that word loosely. So we have 3 people, and do they all 3 have to agree on the award?
2 out of the 3.
So it could be any 2.
Yep.
It could be your side and the referee. It could be the 2 referees and not the third.
Yeah.
Any 2 of those have to agree.
Yep.
And no matter what the third guy says, it doesn't matter.
No, as long as 2 out of the 3 agree.
Okay. So then they write.
The third may not sign the award, but
that's okay. But it's binding with 2 signatures. So now that we've had a signed award, right? And now they have to. The insurance company has to abide by it.
Correct. As long as it's not any coverage opinions.
Yeah, that's a good point. So in reference, they're not going to go over the policy and what's covered. No. They're only going to deal with physical damage.
Correct. It's monetary.
Right. And so here's the question for you. So it's only building related, right? It can't be contents.
It could be.
It can be contents?
It could be contents. It could be the period of restoration on the living.
Okay, so ALE comes in.
ALE comes in. If it's a business claim, you could have business interruption.
Okay, so loss of rents.
Yeah, everything could be put into play.
So everything except for whether or not something's covered.
Correct. They're not. The panel doesn't interpret policy.
Okay, and then here's one that happens a lot. Does that not interpreting the policy, does that exclude code, or can the panel do code as well?
They could do code as well.
So they can address the building, electrical, fire system,
absolutely,
whatever that is.
Right.
Are they going to list that award separate, 2 awards?
Yep. So it's one award with the coverages broken down.
Okay, so they're going to list out
building,
code, contents, ALE,
period of restoration,
it is.
Everything's going to be.
Okay. And they say, okay, we think it's going to take 9 months. It's somewhere, and there was an expert that said I can do it in a year. One guy said whatever, and they said, well, we think it's 10 months, so we're going to give them 10 months of rent.
Correct.
Right.
And then once they publish the award, the carrier pays based on the award.
Right. And there is a time limit for them to pay?
So if you file a proof of loss, they have to pay within 30 days.
Okay, so they could take up to another 30 days to make that payment if they really wanted to stretch
Absolutely.
it. Right, and some of them do.
Some of them do.
Right. Now, one thing that some people forget about too, most policies have a 2-year window. So let's talk about that 2-year window. So let's talk about this one in down the Cape. It's 8 months in, you're involved. He's already burned up 8 months of the 2 years, correct?
Correct.
Right, so there's no reset.
No, there's no reset. There's no reset.
So it's from date of loss.
The date of loss.
It's 2 years.
Correct.
What happens after 2 years?
The statute expires.
And there's no more talking about it.
You can get extension on the statutes, but the insurance carrier has to agree.
Agree to it.
So let's say we're dealing with a town or a municipality that says you can't go back this way and you have to go back a different way, and now you're going in front of the zoning board and permitting, and that's delaying the process to get your building permit. As long as it's documented, and which what we do, we're going to document, but also we're going to communicate with the insurance company. Hey, I know we resolved the claim, but we're having a lot of issues with the town. Here's all of our correspondence.
So let's pick on that one down the Cape. So you're 8 months in.
Mm-hmm.
Let's pretend it takes you another 8 months to get a number.
Mm-hmm.
That's 16 months, right? So now we have 8 months left to get the job done.
To get correct.
Right, and he still doesn't have a building permit, and there's a lot of issues there around the building permit.
Correct. The issue on that one, though, is they may say you dragged your feet for the first 8 months. So, but again, if they're reasonable carriers, they're going to say, okay, you know what? We'll give you another 3 months.
So in the background, you're coaching your clients, saying, listen, we're running up against these dates. We don't have a full settlement yet, but you might want to engage with your contractor, go pull your permit, start your selection process, get a contract with him about what you're going to do, because they may decide to do more work. That guy with the kitchen, he may say, you know what, I always want to expand it 4 feet bigger and make a vaulted ceiling.
Absolutely.
And so he's meeting with his contractor behind the scenes. So you're telling him, hey, we're getting close. Go file your building permit. Get ready to go. Order your cabinets. We know we've got X, Y, Z. It's at least enough to cover the cabinets. So that needs to be happening in the background.
Right. So again, last week, water dam in the kitchen, they texted me yesterday and said, Jeff, is it too soon to call my contractor and start looking at cabinets? I said, no, it's not. Go right ahead. Start to get your ideas going. Yeah. Start to pick out the selections, because those type of cabinets, are they in stock? Are they 2 months? Are they 3 months?
Yeah.
And what are the pricing of those cabinets, and does it fall in line with the type of cabinets that you had? So absolutely, start picking all that. So in the meantime, while I'm working on the insurance claim, you're picking out all your selections. So when the claim's settled, you're off and running.
Right. And the important thing to remember, that 2 years is, if you don't finish the project in the 2 years, you jeopardize getting the holdback money.
Correct.
So we're going to talk about the holdback. So,
okay.
So now in a reference hearing, and refresh my memory because I'm a little foggy on this. So on a reference hearing, there's no holdback, correct?
There's still a holdback.
There's still a holdback.
Yep, there's still good. They will determine the RCV and the ACV.
Okay, so for everyone else, RCV is replacement cost value, what it's going to cost when it's finished.
Mm-hmm.
Actual cash value is what they think it's worth today.
Replacement cost less depreciation is actual cash value.
Right.
Yep.
So they say your building's 10 years old. We're taking 30% depreciation. We're going to hold back 30% until you do the work.
Correct, and that's when you have the 2 years from the date of the loss to recover the depreciation.
Right, so 2 years, 1 day, if you didn't communicate, you might be out.
Yeah, but as long as the work, again, every carrier interprets differently, but if the work was done within the 2 years and you start to submit some of the receipts and let the carrier know, again, it's all like everything else, it's communication.
Right.
But if you blindside them, 24 months later with it and you never updated them throughout the process, because the adjuster is going to have to diary the claim even after it's paid and settled. So I will get status letters, I will get calls from the adjuster, hey, I just got this up on my diary. Could you let me know where they are in the repairs? Number one. Number two, do you think they're going after the depreciation? Because if they're not, I'm closing my file and I'll let the carrier know.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, keep it open. So this way, there's no surprises.
Yeah. And one of the other big ones too is why you should be involved is code.
Yes.
Right. So let's talk about that a little bit. So you have a substantial claim, and in today's world, especially with the building code changing every 2 years now there's energy code, plumbing code, electrical code, insulation code, this code, that code, there's a lot of codes, right? And so on even a normal size claim now, some type of code's going to have to occur, and it's going to have to be expended. But you need to identify that up front and convey that to the adjuster, and who's then going to explain to the insurance company, listen, we know the claim was $60,000 to put it back the way it was, but we can't put it back the way it was because it needs all these code upgrades, and that's another $15,000. And here's a list of all the codes that we're going to apply.
Absolutely, and I think it's one of the Achilles heel for the insurance company is code, because the numbers that come at them that are code related are also sometimes very large.
Yeah.
And the reason being is, an inexperienced contractor who doesn't deal with insurance claim is going to file a permit and tell the building inspector, I'm going to do new insulation, new electrical. And then, of course, the building inspector is going to say, great, this is great. And then we get the call where my contractor said, I need to bring this up to code and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And I said, I understand that. No building inspector is going to tell you don't need to do that because they want you to bring your building up to code to make it safe. But the insurance company interprets it much differently. So we like to work with that contractor from the beginning to say, hey, if there is code, why don't you bring it to my attention now? Early. So let's have that conversation with the insurance company because it needs to be documented. And that's where a lot of contractors not dealing in the insurance world don't know how to document
100%.
it accordingly because they'll say, well, that outlet got damaged, and if I need to replace it, with a GFI, that's what it costs me. And I try to, well, they didn't have that before, so they owe for the outlet that you had before, and then to bring it up to a GFI, if it's $1 more, the $1 more goes over to code.
Correct. And then that's going to sometimes trigger from the insurance company. They're going to bring on their own code expert.
Which is a whole...
Yeah. So then the trail of experts starts,
yes.
right? And you have, paper contractors that come out and write estimates. You have paper engineers that come out and write code estimates, even though they're not contractors.
Right.
And you have a whole bunch of paperwork. So that's why it's important on your side that you have your team to say, no, I'm going to bring in so-and-so because he's going to know how to write it correctly so it can get covered.
Correct. And then it's also having a conversation with the contractor, say, hey, I need you to get something in writing. Email the building inspector per our conversation.
Right.
A lot of times they're not going to put it in writing, but hey, per our conversation today, you advise me I have to do X, Y, and Z. Please just respond yes or no.
Right.
And a lot of times they will, just being simple, but they're not going to put it all out there and have the liability fall on them. And that's a whole nother...
That's a separate podcast.
Yeah, that's a whole nother nightmare we run into. So
that's a whole separate podcast,
yeah.
building inspectors,
Yeah.
plumbing and electrical inspectors for sure. We could bore each other to tears
Right.
over that. So now we've either settled the claim without reference or we've gone to reference, and now we're in spending money. We're spending money, and I'm going to use round numbers. So we settled for $100,000, and I'm just going to do something easy. No, I'm going to so there's $100,000 for the building, $20,000 for code related items, and $40,000 for contents. But we don't get all that money up front.
Correct.
We only get a portion of that money.
Correct.
So now we have to start working right away. And we've got to expend that money and finish that job within the 2 years. And if we can't, we need to explain why.
Correct.
Right? And I know 2 years sounds like a long time.
Flies by.
But it
Flies
goes
by.
on a big claim, it goes fast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that clock is burning every day. Mm-hmm. Right? You're sleeping and that thing's ticking away.
Absolutely.
Right? And so you can get in trouble quick if you're not watching those dates.
Yep.
Right? So I'm just going to take a homeowner's claim. It took, I'll be generous. It took 4 months to settle, and now we have a pocket of money, and now they go to work. How do they get the rest of the money back?
So let's use round numbers, $100,000 replacement cost, $20,000 in depreciation, so they receive the actual cash value of $80,000. In order to get anything over that $80,000, you need to show them that you've spent the ACV of the $80,000 you received to date, and you need to now show dollar for dollar up to the $100,000 to get the 20 that you've incurred additional costs above and beyond the $80,000 that you've spent.
But what does incurred mean?
Well, that's, again, another, we could spend a couple of podcasts on that and bring a lawyer in from the insurance side. But our interpretation.
In simple terms.
Incurred is that you have a contract with yourself.
Yep.
You've incurred the cost.
So the work is done.
The work is done. You've incurred it. What homeowner has an extra $20,000, $30,000 to outlay? And so some carriers want to see the full replacement cost, but it's not there. No one has that kind of disposable income. So we have to show them but contractors like yourself will finish the work because you understand the process. Mm-hmm. So you finish the work, we show the pictures that it's all work, we have the contract documented, and we submit it for the holdback.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's important for people to understand that if they're working with a contractor that's not used to doing insurance repair work, at some point he's going to be on the hook for a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times that I had multi-million dollars of money on the street because we needed to finish projects in order to collect the holdback.
Correct.
Right, and especially when you get super busy, you know, you can get a lot of money on the street pretty quick. But it's the only way you can get the job done. So, and then collect that money because you know, quote unquote, have to prove you spent it. And for the most part, proving it means here's my occupancy permit, here's the final photos, here's the building card signed off.
Yeah, and here's copies of clear checks to the
Right,
contractor.
here's up to the
here's
here's
the
up to the
invoices,
ACV.
here's payments.
Right,
here, you know.
and then here's my outstanding invoice.
Correct.
They still owe me $20,000.
Correct.
The work's done. I need my 20 grand.
Correct. That's how it works on the building side. The contents, it's on an individual basis.
So explain that. What does that mean?
So you could have 2,000 line items on the contents, and even though the overall depreciation is, you know, $20,000, you don't have to spend and replace everything on that inventory like you do on the building to get the holdback. So using this table, for example, if we agree this table's $500 and they give you the actual cash value of $400 up front, you just have to show them a receipt for this table for $500 or anything over $400 to recover dollar for dollar up to the $100 that
So
they're
you
holding.
literally have to buy the same item on the content side.
It has to be
Relative.
not the same relative,
Yeah,
you know.
If it's a couch, you have to buy a couch.
Correct.
If it's a TV, you have to buy a TV. It doesn't have to be the same TV,
No.
but it has to be a
No,
TV.
no. If you had a
Now on the building, so that's a good segue into the building side. So on the building side, it's a little looser, right? Because if I had 3 bedrooms and now I want 4 bedrooms, if I put 4 bedrooms but I still fix the house, does it matter?
in my opinion, as long as you're in the footprint,
Right.
you want to move a wall around because the house is gutted.
Yeah.
You know, I think we all could understand that that's
Yeah,
okay.
Put an opening in the wall, kitchen pass through, whatever it is.
Exactly, but where it gets a little questionable is all of a sudden you had a single-story ranch, and now you're going up to a second story, and now you're asking the insurance company, I need 4 more months of ALE because
Right.
my house wasn't done. You know, really, they don't owe for that because you're not having the same use that you had before.
Right. So that, and again, that's why it's important to have an expert in the corner to be able to reach out to you, say, Jeff, I've always wanted a colonial.
Can I do it?
The top of my house got destroyed by a tree. You've gotten me a settlement. I'm going to put another 50 or 60 or 100 grand into this house. You know, what's my exposure? Where am I on the hook for it? You know, I'm going to go get a HELOC loan and, you know, make the colonial I always wanted.
Correct.
Which they have the right to do, right? And they can fix the house any way they want, but they have to communicate that to you up front. Say, this is what I'm doing. You know, what do you need from me to make sure I'm going to get my holdback money?
Absolutely, and then we want to communicate that with the adjuster because when we send the pictures of the final product,
You don't
and
want
now
them
there's
to
a
be
second
surprised.
story. Now they have some concerns.
Yeah. But if you can document that you settled for 200 grand and they have a contract for 325.
Yep, 200 is the repairs. The
Yeah.
other balance is their own money.
Yeah.
And
They upgraded the air conditioning. They put
absolutely.
a second story
Yep.
on. They added another bath. They absolutely can. They can take that money and add to it.
In my opinion, yes.
Right.
You just can't ask the insurance company to pay for more living.
Yeah. So if it took 2 months longer to do that,
Sorry.
they might say we're not going to pay for
Yeah,
that
I
2
can't
months.
submit that because that's not what you went back with.
So yeah, so again, it's important to agree on that period of restoration up front because if they have a contract that can get it done in that period, it won't matter.
Correct.
Right. So if they say, well, we agree it's a 6-month job and the contractor gets done in 6 months, whether or not he puts a second story or not, it doesn't matter.
That's all they're paying.
Understood. Yeah. That's interesting. So now we've settled the claim, we've gotten our holdback. Is there anything else we need to do? Are you done at that point?
I'm there until that holdback check is delivered.
Okay, so we got the holdback.
So we
Now
got the
what?
holdback. We give them their check, and then we hope to that they give us many referrals down the road.
Okay. So at that point, the claim's closed.
Closed. Now we're 100% closed. There's no more open money left with the insurance company. There's no outstanding receipts on
Right.
living, so forth. That's it. Claim is closed. They're back in their brand new house. They have been made whole by the insurance company,
Hopefully.
and then that's it.
Okay. So once your job's done, now in that process, what I've seen, let's talk about this. In that process, I've seen where their policy, the insurance company, comes up for renewal. So we're halfway. It's a 2-year claim, or even a 1.5-year claim, and their policy is renewing in February, but they're not going to be done until December. And the insurance company cancels them for their policy that they had that they're paying on. does that affect the holdback in any way?
No, absolutely not. Because there's a good chance if you have a sizable claim, you're going to get canceled.
So you could get canceled midway, even if your renewal was, say, 2 months after the date of loss, you might get canceled.
Correct. And it has no bearing on the claim. You know, you had policy
So
at the
once
time
it's
of
agreed,
occurrence.
there's coverage. It doesn't matter if
Correct.
they cancel you.
And it's a great question because it happens all the time where I get that call, Jeff, I just got canceled. I haven't been paid yet. Am I ever going to get paid? Yes, you're going to get paid.
Okay.
Yep.
So they're locked. They still have to pay you, but from that moment on, from the date of cancellation, they're not on the hook if more damage happens.
No.
So
and the adjuster doesn't even know that they were canceled.
Yeah. They don't care.
Yeah.
So how do you help that insured get more insurance? Is it harder for them to get more insurance?
Absolutely.
Because their house is torn apart.
Absolutely. So then you might have to get a builder's risk policy, which costs money, and then you want to submit that to the carrier to say, hey, because of my loss, now I have additional insurance. The carrier won't pay it. So a lot of the time you have to trust your agent.
Yeah.
You have to have
so
really
have we ever settled that in reference?
No.
So we're going to be doing that shortly.
All right. Well, I look forward to your outcome.
Because I firmly believe.
I know you do.
I firmly believe that if you force me into the secondary market and my policy value tripled, and I'm in the middle of restoration, you owe me for forcing me into that period of restoration.
Right, because you've increased your costs.
Yeah, 100%.
As a result of the claim.
Yeah, and it's part of the loss. So we're going to get that as a precedent.
You're going to set precedent. I'm not surprised. You set precedent all the time.
Yeah, we're going to see. I'll either be a hero or zero.
You'll be a hero in my eyes.
So that's good. So what things are a public adjuster not allowed to do for the insured? Let's talk about that.
Third-party claims. So we get a lot of calls of a third-party
What does
claim.
that mean?
A
Explain
liability
third-party.
claim. So a car goes through your house, and we get the call, I need help, and I say, okay, are you going first party, which is your own insurance company, or are you going third party through the automobile? Oh, we're going through the automobile. We're not licensed to represent
So you can't represent
We can't
them.
because that homeowner isn't the policyholder.
Yeah, it's the car driver.
It's the car, and
they're never going to hire you.
And
so you would recommend strongly never going third party.
No, the other reason why you go third party is you're only entitled to the ACV, the depreciated value.
Right.
So you can't get that depreciation.
Right, you never get it.
Never. So that person that just hit your house, if you go through their carrier, you're already on the hook for the depreciated value.
Right.
And if your house is old, that could be expensive.
Right.
So
and there's no code coverage.
And there's no code coverage. The list goes on.
So why would people go third party?
Because I didn't cause it. I didn't cause it. I was sitting and watching TV, and the car came through my living room. Why am I at fault? Why am I going to have my premiums?
So do they after listening to you, do they say, "Oh, I'm going to call my carrier"? Do they straighten up?
Most people do.
Okay.
Sometimes everyone asks around. I'm going to ask, and most people say, "Oh, go through. Why would?" But once I explain the differences.
So it's a bad idea to go third party.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, some people have had success? Yes, but they're okay with getting the depreciated value.
Yeah, I've never seen it as successful.
I had one last year.
Yeah, but it's 1 out of 1,000.
Correct. But 2 weeks ago, where they called me and they said, we're going third party. I said, don't do it. I'm telling you, don't do it. You have a $500,000 to $1 million claim. You have no control.
Right.
So
that's the other thing. So they don't even have to talk to you.
No, you have no control. They're
just going to sell you a check.
Liability is going to send out their adjuster. Here's what we think to do, and you're going to have to sit there and try and fight it. Right. And really, you're not the policyholder, and then you'll have to get a lawyer and just go first party. I get it. Your premiums may go up. You didn't cause it.
Or get canceled.
Yeah, but if you want to be made whole, go first party.
Now I've been canceled. And I'm scrambling around. You obviously have resources to help them to say, call this agent, call this person.
Absolutely.
I have a relationship with these people that can get you insurance. So they may have to pay more for their policy going forward. And it used to be you would have to go to, a mass fair plan or something like that. But it's been my experience, those policies are pretty good now.
I love the fair plan.
Right. So years ago, their policies were like,
Yeah, they were limited coverage. Now they have great coverage.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So what goes around, I guess, if you wait long enough, it fixes itself.
Yeah, no, there's great agents out there, and the good agents know what they're doing, and you always want an agent. You want someone who's going to be an advocate for you.
That's a good point. So don't call Geico, don't call Direct. Hire an agent who's going to look out for you. Make sure you have proper coverage. Code coverage is a big one, right?
Yes.
You see, look at that.
Backup of sewer drains.
Yeah.
I had one last week where, it backed up in my house. It only says $2,500 for coverage. Is that really right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
you're
the
on the
policy
hook.
states. You're on the hook for the rest.
Get out your credit card.
Yeah, and the good agents are going to check all the boxes for you. I always tell people, the bigger you see them advertise on TV, stay away. They may be cheaper, but cheaper isn't always the best.
No, it's not going to be the best. It absolutely not. I've never seen where it'd be better.
No.
Ever. And like you said, there's limited coverage, limits, low limits on things. Look at that guy down the Cape. He's only got $25,000 for code.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in trouble.
He's in big trouble.
Big trouble. And he bought a cheap policy. So you pay one way or another, right?
Yep, correct.
All right. Well, that was good. What did we forget to talk about? All things public adjuster. Anything?
How I get paid, the most important.
All right. How does a public adjuster get paid?
We get paid percentage of what we collect, and we don't get paid until the very end. So you have to approve it and be satisfied, and then we get paid.
Okay. And again, having done this for a long time, I can truthfully say that whatever your fee is well worth it, especially in today's environment.
Absolutely.
It is. I mean, I'm sure you look at trends over the last 5 years. It's taking you much longer to settle claims than it ever has.
Much longer. There are a lot more costly claims. And don't get me wrong, we turn down a lot of claims. If they're small, you don't need it. You have a contractor that seems like they know what they're doing. Work it out with the insurance company directly. We don't want to take any money out of your pocket. We want to be able to earn our fee and show you what we've done.
So let's talk about that. So ring, ring. Hi, this is Jeff. What does that look like? You're going to have a long discussion with me? You're going to find out what I'm into, what the thing, are you going to come look maybe?
So we kind of a fact-finding mission. We kind of get a sense of the size of the claim. And if it's a smaller claim, we'll say, okay, do you have an offer from the insurance company? If you do, please forward it along. Do you have any photos? Have you submitted any documents? Let us take a look at it, because if it's small enough, we may pinpoint 2 things on an estimate and say, hey, your contractor is a couple grand off, and here's why I think, All
right, so you coach on a small claim, you coach somebody. If it's a bigger claim,
we're on our way.
Yeah, you're on the way.
We're on the way.
Say, listen, the cavalry's coming. Don't do anything till I get there.
Correct.
Don't hire anybody. Don't make any phone calls.
Correct.
Wait till I get there. I'm going to help you call in the claim. I'm going to call the insurance company.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything. I'll be there, right away. I'm leaving right now. Right. Don't do anything until I get there.
Right. So that's an important thing for people to remember.
Absolutely.
Because if you're involved at the very moment of the claim, it's going to run much smoother because no missteps are going to happen.
Correct. If you report the claim because you think this was the cause,
right,
and then you find out later that wasn't the cause,
yeah.
Well, the carrier a lot of the time, wait a minute, why did so-and-so say this was the cause?
Yeah, it's very important. One word or one
word, one phrase, one word, it could change the whole way the claim goes.
Yeah, and then also setting a reserve up front.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big problem, as you know.
Yes. It's under reserved,
You're
versus
fight
when we're
it to
involved,
the end.
We're going to tell the insurance adjuster or the company what we think this claim is worth, versus them telling themselves what they think the claim is worth.
And they don't ever love to go above that number. Once
they set that number, it's a lot to undo because management isn't happy why the claim went above the reserve.
Yeah. Reserve's a dogfight. All right. Now we're going to go on to the speed round now.
All right.
So who were your earliest mentors or influencers besides your grandfather and your father?
Wow, that's a great question. In the industry?
Yeah, about being a public adjuster.
There's a fellow in Connecticut, and I just talked to him yesterday. His name is Ralph Conlon. He owns a restoration company. And when I was 13 years old doing inventories for my father after fires, he always treated me with respect. He had an unbelievable company, and I saw the way he did business, and I always looked up to him and respected him. And he was part of my wedding, and I literally just talked to him yesterday, and I know it's because I'm sitting in this chair, but I've always respected you. You have always guided and led me in the right direction. We may agree to disagree.
Yeah, that's happened a couple times.
A couple times, but at the end of the day, you have taught me well, and I thank you and I appreciate that.
Well, right back at you because I've learned a lot from you. So, early challenges you faced and how you overcame them.
Early challenges.
When you went out on your own as a public adjuster.
It's getting that first claim. I'll never forget it. You go out on your own and you think you could do it. And you have anxiety.
Yeah, pucker moment.
Yeah, am I ever gonna get one? And I'll never forget it. It was unbelievable feeling. It was a fire in Middleborough.
Yep.
And I remember the house, I remember the name, I remember the street.
Yep.
And I gave my solicitation, and they said absolutely, and it was invigorating.
Yeah,
and,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot, but what other industry trends are you noticing?
No one has authority.
Yeah.
No one has authority anymore, and it just makes settling a claim very difficult. And the insurance companies have big pockets, and they're willing to fight, and they have lawyers on their side, and we have conversations with insurance company lawyers all the time that I don't agree with my client, but this is what they want me to do.
Yeah. Yeah, sadly, we definitely hear that. So what tip would you offer someone hiring a public adjuster? Like, what questions should they ask you, or a competitor to make the right decision?
Do your research. Please do your research. Go online. Look at their experience. Look at their Google reviews. Ask for some referrals that they've handled claims for and the size of the claims. I use the analogy of your property is your biggest investment.
For most people.
For most people, it's one of your biggest investments.
Absolutely.
Just like our heart's our biggest investment. If you have a heart problem, are you going to the cheapest, heart doctor? No. I got to find the best heart doctor that, I know so-and-so went to and saved their life.
Yep.
So do your research. It really boggles my mind when there's a fire or something happens and we call it on the street, and they hire the first person that walks up. It's $1 million claim, and they don't realize what they just hired.
Yeah. And they've made a mistake, and you can't convince them otherwise.
No, and they don't even want to talk to you. You are a horrible human for trying to talk to them after they hired someone. But just do your research.
Yeah.
There's a lot. The good news in Massachusetts is you have to be an apprentice for 2 years before you can get licensed. So you really have to be dedicated. But listen, a lot of people slip through the cracks, just like any industry. And it's just really sad to see when someone just lost everything and they've hired the wrong person. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it is amazing. But, they're vulnerable. They're in a highly emotional state.
We've seen it all the time.
Yeah, and they're just looking for a lifeline. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's important for the good people to be there as well as the not so good people.
Absolutely.
Favorite tool you can't live without?
My phone. That's easy.
Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh, wow. Best piece of advice that I've ever received. Honestly, it's the let them theory by Mel Robbins. Let them. If you can't control it, it's out of your control. Sometimes you can only control what you can control, and you can't worry about other people as long as you put your best foot forward.
I hear you. Advice you would give your younger self?
Oh, wow. Don't get discouraged. Like, you're going to fall.
Yep.
And the biggest, you're not going to please everyone.
Yeah,
which,
that's for sure.
It stinks, but just realize it's going to happen.
Yeah, it is disheartening, though, for sure, especially when you've busted your ass.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. When they just don't see it. They don't see
No, they don't get it. And those are the clients where it's, sometimes, hey, it's not a fit. I'll never please you.
Yeah, exactly. Favorite food and dessert?
Favorite food is a steak, and favorite dessert is vanilla ice cream with Reese's peanut butter cups.
Ooh. Smashed up? Frozen?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Chopped up. Yeah. Cups.
If you could have dinner with anyone alive or dead, who would it be?
I'd like to I'd like to talk to Howard Stern.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He's a good. He's gone sideways lately, but he's a good interviewer. And
he is a good interviewer.
Yeah, he's very.
I don't
good.
agree with him on anything else.
I don't.
But I'll give him the interview part.
And it's affecting him now.
Yeah.
Dead. Wow. I honestly can't answer that.
That's fine.
Yeah, I don't have it.
If you have $10 million to donate, who or what organization would you give it to?
I think Make-A-Wish.
Interesting.
For kids. I've seen that, what they've done for kids, and I enjoy that.
Yeah. Amen to that. It's interesting. So, and I say this almost every episode, but I've never had anyone on that question. I've never gotten the same answer twice.
Really?
So it just shows you how many different things there are.
Yeah, there is.
It really is.
Yep.
All right, that's a wrap for today's episode of the BuildX Podcast. Thank you to Jeff Sabel for joining us from Sabel Adjusters. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share if you've enjoyed it. And we'll see you next week. And remember, Jeff, just build, baby.
You bet.